Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, members of the Hub Committee. Thank you for attending the meeting today. Agendas have been sent around. Just remind everybody that the usual protocols apply. And if you'd like to raise a question or take part in the debate, please raise your hand and or communicate with me, and we will make sure you get the chance to speak as and when required. So if we can move on to the first item on the agenda, apologies for absence. I've had none. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I've got no apologies, but for the record, I can't see Councillor Samuel on the call yet, Chair. So also, I haven't got apologies from Councillor Samuel. She doesn't appear to be on the part of the meeting yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watt. We'll move on to item 2, declarations of interest. I am going to declare a pecuniary interest in item 3, coming up under items requiring urgent attention by way of employment with business information point, and I will take no part in that section of the proceedings. Councillor Cheadle is going to present that paper, and I will then come back onto the meeting after that. Are there any other declarations of interest? I've got none coming forward. So see anyone I to note, I think, Mr. White. So items requiring urgent attention. Mr. White, would you like me to drop off the call and you'll get me back on at the appropriate time?
Yes, please, Chair. We'll add you back as soon as the item's finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Darryl, shall I start this one?
Yes, please, Councillor Cheadle, over to you.
Can I just confirm that Chris Brook is on the call?
Councillor Cheadle, I'm here.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Okay, Hub members, this paper came in only this morning, so you probably haven't had a huge amount of time to look at it. It's called the Additional Restrictions Grant, and as I'm absolutely determined I don't want to trip over any of the detail, and there's lots of it, I'm going to hand directly over to Chris Brook to explain what this is all about.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle, and good afternoon, members. This is the covering report to the policy. The policy is the schedule. Now, the schedule is something that we discussed at the last member briefing, so I don't intend to, unless I'm asked, dip into that. But the covering report is just to ensure that due process is followed, which was that we are taking this as an urgent item because the schedule went live with the application process for the ARG, which occurred last Friday. So this is the sort of mop-up report for that. Recommendation 1.1 is exactly that, which is to note the additional restrictions grant scheme, which went through in the members' bulletin. The only other recommendation is around 1.2, which is a recommendation to put £50,000 from the £1.1 million we've been given by central government to administer aside to support wider business activity. The scheme in Appendix A includes, which is a public scheme that's on the website, does include the point that we will be looking to do further business support schemes that are not direct grants. And it puts a scheme of delegation around that 50,000, which is delegated to the Director of Place and Enterprise and Head of Placemaking in consultation with the Leader of the Council. It also goes on just to note that there is a separate report on this Hub committee, which talks about a further £50,000 from the ARG funding for support of broadband, which is, so that is not a decision yet to be made, but it just references it so there's no confusion. But other than that, it's essentially just a covering report to the scheme for the ARG policy, which went live last Friday and has had about 100 people apply to date. So hopefully that's a good summary for you, Councillor Cheadle.
Thank you very much, Chris. Can I ask if anyone's got any questions for Chris on this report? I'm looking at the chat box to see.
with respect, haven't really had enough time, having had meetings all morning, to get to grips with it.
Okay. That said, no, indeed. I mean, it is quite a sort of complex area, and one where we have to move quite quickly on. So I'd be reluctant to delay our consideration of this. If there are no questions, I will propose the recommendations that appear on the screen in front of you. I won't bother reading them all through. Can I have a seconder for those?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we're in debate. Is there any debate? I do understand that it's a complex thing and we haven't had a lot of time to consider it, but it is important that we get these business grants out to the people that desperately need them.
Councillor Mott's indicating a wish to speak, Chair.
I can't see that. Hang on.
She's used the hands up function.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that.
While you're trying to find that, Chair,
please do.
if I can, my apologies as well, because it is more of a question. And again, my apologies, because like Councillor Sellis, I've been tied up in meetings, so I've only really had a cursory glance at the document. I'm assuming that it probably is detailed in there, but can you tell me where we're going to get the feedback? Will the reports on how this scheme has been administrated come back to us at Hub, please?
Chair, if it's okay, I'll answer that question.
Please do. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Mott. So we will continue to give you updates on a weekly basis through the members' bulletin, which we've been doing for the LRSG closed scheme. So at the point where so as of this Friday, I'll be able to give you an update on that, and that will continue. And yes, where there is a decision that needs to be taken, obviously the Hub is the right place to do it. But if it's just for information, it might not be. The Hub might not be the right place for it. I don't know. I'll stand corrected on that. But I'm absolutely adamant that we will ensure you have full transparency of the scheme, and we're working really hard to make sure all the businesses that apply get their grants as quickly as they can.
Thank you. If I can also, now that I'm scanning further down through, I see that Tavistock bid is mentioned within the support, the wider business support under 3.5. But I'm assuming as well that that support is also going to be extended out to the other towns and bigger villages within the district.
Thank you, Councillor Mott. Those bullet points are, and apologies if it doesn't come across as that way, if it doesn't read this way, but 3.5 is around wider business support that could be provided. So these are examples. There's no decision being made at all. It's just this will be a case-by-case thing. It's not territorial. It needs to be about ensuring the businesses across West Devon are supported fairly and with the widest possible terms. So we will absolutely be looking on a case-by-case basis. How much money does it cost us? What is the benefit to the businesses, and how can we best get that money to work hard for us? So it may well be that Tavistock bid can work really hard for the businesses in Tavistock, which would be excellent, and we would look at it, of course. But we wouldn't ever do that and not do it elsewhere. So I think it's really important that we have full West Devon wide measures, and we'll do that on a case-by-case basis. But yes, you have my assurance. It's not a Tavistock-centric business support package.
Thank you. I'm sure that everything is fully covered within the document, and again, my apologies for not being able to fully read and take in everything that no doubt you have put in there in full and explained everything. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thanks very much. Yes, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat here, Caroline. We're having to be nimble with documents like this because the government produces them at such speed, and I'm sure there'll be more coming. Are there any more? I'm looking at my team thing, which I've now found. Are there any other hands up?
Councillor Edmonds, Chair.
I can't see. Yeah, I'm struggling with my Teams thing. It's the first time I've used it. I can't see that. Okay, Chris Edmonds, please. You've got a question.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Well, like my colleagues, I haven't had a great deal of time to go through the document, but I've certainly seen enough to know that this is important, and I certainly know that many of our businesses are finding life extremely difficult. So this is, I think, a good opportunity to provide support and quickly as well. So that I should be fully supporting the 2 recommendations. And also, I think I'd like to acknowledge and thank all those members of staff, officers who've been involved in setting up these grant schemes and administering them. It's been a huge amount of work. It's involved weekend working. So I certainly like to acknowledge their efforts as well. And as I say, I shall happily support the recommendations. But of course, I will be reading the document in full. But I have every confidence that the scheme is sound. And good luck to the people that are going to continue to support the businesses and get money into their bank accounts at the earliest opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. I'm struggling with the hands up screen, I'm afraid. Has anyone else got a comment to make?
Councillor Moody's next, Chair.
Okay.
Yes.
Moody.
Right. I'd like to echo Councillor Edmonds' points there. I think officers have worked extremely hard to help support our businesses during this difficult time. Just a question about agenda item 3. Page 2 on my copy is blank. Could Chris be able to advise what is on page 2, or was it left intentionally blank?
Sorry, Councillor Moody. It's a page break, so I suppose in effect it is what it does what it says on the tin in that regard. I think it's when it gets transposed between a Word document and a PDF document, occasionally the odd line moves up or down. And in this case, what pushed one line in to make it work properly ended up creating an entirely blank page. So there's nothing meant to be on there.
Okay, we haven't missed anything. Okay, thank you.
No. Good question.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Okay, well, we'll take this to the vote. Darryl, I think we can vote by chat box. Darryl, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Chair. I agree. We'll take this one by exceptions. If any members aren't willing to... Oh, sorry, Councillor Sellis is indicating a wish to speak first, Chair.
Oh, sorry, I was just putting my hand up to vote in favour. Sorry,
apologies.
That's what we do with Teams. I'm sorry. I'll remove it. Are we going to put our hands up to vote, or do we?
I think for the transition at the moment, I think we're just going to use the chat box as if we were in Skype, and when we get more converse with Teams, we'll then start using the hands up facility more, Councillor Sellis.
Excuse me, would it be useful for members if you just ran through, if you click on the icons where there are 2 people, you get a list of all the attendees. It may, because I just think, because Teams is very intuitive, and if I manage to do it easily, I'm sure people who are more IT literate than me will find it quite a good experience. I just think, it's people going in cold, it's maybe a bit tricky.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me, unfortunately. I've tried that. So we'll vote by chat box. If anyone does not support the recommendation, could they indicate in the chat box that's the case?
Thank you, Chair. There's nobody indicating that they are not willing to accept that recommendation, so we'll therefore assume it's unanimously carried. Members, can we just wait momentarily while we get Councillor Jury back on the call, please? Councillor Jury, are you back with us?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being with you. Hope you can hear me all right. Thank you for progressing. Now I'd like to move item 4, which is the minutes of the previous meeting. If we can just check through those minutes for accuracy and completeness. Is there anything, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, or page 5? No responses to that. I presume the minutes can therefore be taken as an accurate record of the meeting. If that could be noted, please, Mr. White.
Will do. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is questions, I believe.
That's correct, Chair. We've received no public questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So there are no questions from the public. We'll move on to item 6. And you have in front of you a copy of the Hub Committee forward plan. Clearly, this is a recurring item. There shouldn't be anything there that is a surprise to anybody. Note that at the next meeting, which is actually next week, we're considering the revised budget monitoring and the revised budget proposed following a meeting of the Financial Stability Review Group next Monday, and that will be with the benefit of some additional information that's coming out from the government about the spending review. Are there any other items on the plan that anyone would like to comment on, or anything that's on there that's incorrect or needs amending?
Can I just ask if you're presenting the plan in front of us, because I haven't got it. Hello?
Hello. I'm just checking. I'm referring to a plan.
The plan's not on the screen, Chairman. We've got the COVID-19 recovery plan. I've been referring to my agenda papers using the bookmarks, and you know and you do have the forward plan there. Would mention that today there was going to be an update about Lamerton, but that's been deferred, so it's not absolutely accurate. That just for note. Hope that's useful.
Councillor Cheadle, do you locate the plan in your agenda papers?
Oh yes, I just wondered if I'm still struggling with this wretched Teams thing. I wondered if you were actually projecting the forward plan onto the screen, because if you are, it certainly hasn't come up on my screen.
I have it on the screen either. I guess you've got all of the screen.
And your sound is gone again, so I can't really hear you either.
No,
is it possible?
Cheadle, sorry, you're not coming over clearly at all, Chairman. Sorry to be jumping in here. Councillor Cheadle, you do need to look at your agenda. It's not on the big screen, so if you've got, you can minimise the actual meeting. But anyway, you can get tuition from that out later. But yeah,
I'm referring. Councillor Cheadle, I'm referring to the agenda papers which are on Modern Gov.
Yeah. Oh yes, I know that. No, I was just asking the question whether you were intending to put it on the screen in front of us, because if you were intending to do that, it's not working.
It's not on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
Mr. White, are you able to answer that question at all?
Only to say, Chair, that on the screens we use it as a bit of a recommendation tracker, so it's purely the recommendations from the agenda items. So as there was no direct recommendations from the Hub Forward plan, it's not showing on the screen.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, and the second point, Joe, is Councillor Pearce was using the hands
Okay.
up function indicating the wish to speak.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
thank
was
you.
just
Councillor
saying that
Pearce.
all that's on the screen that is being presented is the item for the recovery plan progress, which is item 7. We seem to have jumped forward quite a bit, actually, I think.
Can I come in, Chair, just to reiterate the point? It's just a purely recommendation tracker.
Councillor Pearce, what the screen is an abridged version, which is showing the recommendations that we're discussing only.
Yep, okay, fine.
Documentation that has been set out the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or queries or additions that we might need to make to the forward plan?
Chair, Councillor Leach is requesting to speak.
Councillor Leach, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, Chair. I'm having a really bad time trying to hear you. Your speech is coming and going worse than mine is usually, but it's not coherent from this side.
Okay, I've got my camera off. Broadband here.
No, it's not making any difference at all, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry, Councillor Leach, can you get that?
I'm here, but we can't understand what you're saying.
Neil, when you speak, about 1 word in 5 comes across.
Okay, I'll very quickly try and leave and come back on.
Members, can I suggest while Councillor Jury's doing that, it might be an idea that we all switch our videos off as well, because that may well have a strain on Councillor Jury's bandwidth.
Darryl, while we're waiting for that, can you hear me?
I can, Councillor Cheetham.
Yeah, my raise your hand function doesn't work.
Okay, thanks, Councillor.
I go to select it and it says it can't raise a hand.
Okay, thank you. We'll take that offline, Councillor Cheetham, and see if we can sort that one out.
It's just that I can't therefore indicate that I want to speak that way.
If you're happy to keep doing it through the chat box, Councillor, I'll keep an eye on both.
Everybody, I've really better in terms of. Hello, I've rejoined the meeting. Is that any better in terms of being able to hear what I'm saying?
It is at the moment. We'll let you know if it deteriorates.
Thank you. If you would, I'd be most grateful. We're going to move on to item 7 then, I think, which update on the recovery plan progress. There's an extensive document in front of you with copious appendices that show what we are doing in terms of the planning for COVID. Plans continue to be made to support businesses and residents throughout the second lockdown period and beyond into the tier 2 period that's starting tomorrow. Local support grants are being progressed, and there is has been a significant interest in emergency welfare support applications. In order to support this function, a vulnerability support officer. The council continues to work with RF and the Health Protection Board, and has in addition provided funding for town centres in order to help local businesses comply with restrictions.
You're breaking up again.
Hello. Okay. I'm wondering why is it possible to talk?
So I didn't catch that, Councillor Drury, but we'll try and dial you in by phone. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, that might be helpful. Is that something I can do from this end?
We'll call you by phone. If you come off the call now, Councillor Drury, we'll ring you by phone.
Yeah, landline would be best.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Councillor Samuel here. Drew, do you want to just give a bit of an oversight of this report while we're waiting for Neil to come back on?
Certainly, Councillor Samuel, I can do that by all means.
Thank you.
I think the leader got sort of halfway through the report. Essentially, this is an update for members to show that the work's been going on. Obviously, we've never really moved out of response into recovery. While we've been doing the plans and members getting together and looking at what we need to do in the future, we've had to really go back in and support businesses and the community during the sort of second phase of the pandemic. So in a sense, this is an update on that. It's also a little bit of housekeeping, really, in terms of looking at the actual recovery plan that we've compiled, which was based on the workshops that members will recall, and actually taking a bit of a sense check and saying, okay, does all of this really sit in recovery? Or are we better off actually bringing some of the actions that relate perhaps to climate change and biodiversity, or to economy, or to housing, and putting them within those strategies, or retain them in the recovery plan. So we've started that process of refining, which you'll see on the appendix. It is work in progress, but the proposal is for us to refine that document down and then bring it to council next week to be adopted. It is a living document. It will remain that way, and it is essentially an interim document while we move towards a new corporate strategy, as was agreed by Hub a month or so ago. So the facts and the information are in there, and I suppose the only other thing to point out at this stage is we're taking a slightly different approach to some other authorities. Other authorities are adopting recovery plans for the next 2 to 3 years potentially, whereas we're dealing with the response, dealing with the short-term recovery aspects, and then we're looking at the medium and longer term recovery through the development of the new corporate strategy, when we understand the economic climate and the social climate we're going to be operating in the future. But nothing's been lost from what members requested. The actions are in there, or they'll be moved into other strategies, and we will update members in the future as to progress on all that work. So that's a summary as it stands, Councillor Samuel.
That's great, thank you. I'll take over for a minute until Neil comes back. So has anyone got any questions?
Yeah, I've got one quick question for Drew, if I could, and apologies, Drew, I can't get the document in front of me for some reason. In the recovery plan itself, at the extreme right hand end, it's got a column of the people responsible for actioning each element of the recovery plan, and in many of those squares it just refers to the recovery team, I think.
Yeah, so it's a recovery management team.
That's right, yeah.
Councillor Cheadle. Yeah.
I'm not absolutely sure I understand exactly what the recovery management team is.
So each area is still obviously the responsibility of the hub lead, as was originally laid out. So the recovery management team is just a catch-all for an officer group working with the lead members, Councillor Cheadle. So rather than defining individuals, we've sort of grouped them together, because it will, if you're looking at the economy side of things, the majority of the time that will be Chris working with yourself and the leader, and it will be other Sarah Gibson, for example, supporting Chris as well. So it's a catch-all. We haven't just gone down into sort of detail as to individual officers in that situation.
Okay, that's fine. I just wondered if there was some team somewhere locked away in a dark room with towels over their heads.
I wish there was another team, but unfortunately it's not. It's the rest of us as usual. So yes,
right,
exactly that. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. I think Chris Edmonds, have you got a question?
Yes, thank you, Lewis. In fact, I think I've got probably 2 or 3. Councillor Tudor has just covered one of mine, but if I can just expand slightly on that one as well, because this is probably a ridiculous question, but I also noticed the initials BAU, which I think is business as usual. Is that just what it says? That action is picked up in the day-to-day business? Does it mean something different or what?
If I can, Chair. Yes, no, it means exactly that. Sorry, it's an abbreviation. As I say, this is a work in progress.
This is the Vodafone voicemail service for 07933764887. Please leave a message after the tone. When you finish recording, please hang up or press the hash key for more options.
I'm not sure if we're leaving a message now.
You
So yeah, indeed. So Councillor Edmonds, yes, this is it's business as usual. As I say, this is a working document, so it is a bit rough around the edges, but essentially quite a few things that originally when we discussed and pulled this document together, they're actually actions that we do. They're part of our normal operation, or we've completed them, and so we're just trying to reduce the number of actions in the document down to something that's a bit more manageable for adoption at council next week.
Well, I think that's good, and it adds focus, I think, to the remaining points. There's no point in overloading that document, because I think it kind of it detracts from it. So that's absolutely fine. Just a couple of other quick points, and I'm sorry to labour this point. I think I've raised this before, but at 5.3, it makes reference to the new corporate plan, which you touched on just briefly there. The last time we did the corporate plan, it proved to be a lengthy process, which included, I think, public consultation. I would hope that perhaps we're not going to repeat that, because I'm very conscious of how much work has gone into the recovery plan, how much work has gone into administering grants and dealing with the COVID response. We're not going to labour this. Is it something is it more of a tweak rather than reinventing the wheel?
Well, I think at this stage, the idea, the timescale is that we're looking to pull together a new corporate strategy for May next year. So it gives us sort of 5 months or so. I think it's not for me as an officer to determine what's going to be in that. It's obviously something we'll be working with Hub and the wider membership to determine what the priorities are of the organisation. So I think there'll be a lot of similarities with key areas, economy, homes, and so on. But we will have to do some public consultation on the document, I would suggest, at some point. But we'll be setting out a timescale for that over the next month or so, Councillor Edmonds. But I think what we have done is, by doing the work to develop the recovery plan, we've captured a lot of the challenges that members feel we're going to face, across the borough in the coming years. So I think it would certainly be sensible that the new corporate strategy includes a lot of what's in this recovery plan at this stage.
And this recovery plan will be an addendum to the corporate strategy. The corporate strategy won't replace the recovery plan.
I think the recovery plan will, obviously, we start with the corporate strategy, and as I say, for example, the enterprise and economy and place are surely going to be a key part of that strategy. A lot of the actions within this recovery plan support that. So we'd have the high level principles and objectives of the corporate plan, and then we'd have a delivery plan of which key elements of this recovery plan would slot into that delivery plan, would be my suggestion at this stage. Okay,
well, we'll see how that forms up. Thank you for that. May I just pick up one further point, if I may? And forgive me if this is in the report and I've missed it, but what monitoring of progress will take place, and how will that be monitored, be fed back to the wider membership? So it's really about monitoring progress with the plan. I'm very conscious as well that Team Devon have quite a significant role to play in this, particularly under the business and economy theme. And how we're going to pick that up, I'd be very interested to know what progress Team Devon are making in these key areas. So have we got a monitoring process in place, and how will that feed back to members so that we all know how well things are going? Thank you, Drew.
No problem. So as we're proposing with the plan, we're going to be splitting some of it out into, for example, the climate change strategy, some of it into the housing strategy, where the actual those bits of work better sit. So they will be monitored through the reporting back on progress on those strategies. With respect to the rest of the recovery plan, I would see that as coming back to Hub to an update in the same way as we've done today, with details against each of those actions. They would be the sort of shorter and the medium term actions. Some of the longer term aspirations are just that, and I would see those being sat under the new corporate plan. So a combination, but rest assured, you members will be updated on performance and delivery against these actions, and also where perhaps an action is not appropriate going forward. A decision to be made by members to remove it from the plan. With Team Devon, again, a lot of the stuff around the economy, the enterprise prospectus. Very aspirational in the early days, and then we've been back into response. So I think the process there is to look at that again, and then we'll get a combination of the work is coming directly from that report and from Team Devon, and some will come from us through updates on the sort of more localised actions. Okay. So a combination, Councillor Edmonds, really, in terms of reporting back on this.
Yes, thank you, Drew. That's really good. I'm just trying to ensure that everyone's put a lot of work into developing this plan, and I'm just very keen that we are able to drive this forward, at pace, to make sure that we get full value for the work that's been put into it, and of course get the benefits out of it as well, all the other organisations, the communities and so on. So that's why I'm very keen that we keep close to it, so as we know where we're going, how it's going, and be able to jump in and tweak that in any way if absolutely necessary. But that's great. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Moody. Councillor Moody?
I'm here. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Just a couple of can you hear me? Can you hear me? Right. Just a couple of questions, Drew. On the sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Loud.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, the two questions. We're talking about working with Devon town councils and parish councils. There was a discussion just before about bid in Tavistock. Would bid be included via the town councils? Is that how you would consider how we work with bid in Tavistock? That's the first question. If I just give you a couple of questions here. The second one was, I noticed that there's a comment to take an active role under 2.13 to take an active role in promoting car sharing, and particularly through the winter months. I don't know whether that's such a good idea through Corona, and I'm wondering why it's in there. And I think that's the two questions. Oh, and the third question was, with BIP, it's to encourage businesses to come into West Devon. Do they also provide help to existing businesses already in Devon? So they're the three questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moody. If I can pick up on one of those points, and I think Chris Brooke may be better placed to pick up the two on the bid and the BIP, if that's okay. The first one is it's the point about car sharing. again, what you've got to remember, we captured lots of ideas from members about things that would be appropriate in terms of short-term response and short-term recovery, and some that are longer term plans. So things like promoting car sharing, reducing the carbon footprint of travel, clearly is a good aspiration, something that probably, as you say, wouldn't be appropriate during this phase of the lockdown. So again, we need to expand and explore these actions and determine the best way of tackling them. At the moment, it is a collection of lots of ideas, and it needs refinement to focus it in on those key recovery actions, and that's the process we're going through. But I would certainly agree, recommending car sharing at the moment probably wouldn't make sense.
But it's a horizon point. Really.
Exactly, for the future, it clearly would be a beneficial move. So
totally
I don't know if Chris Brooke is available to pick up on the other 2 points that you may be better placed to answer. Chris, are you around?
I am indeed. Hi, Drew. Yeah, thank you, everyone. So look,
Is now exiting.
I'm not. Promise, I'm not exiting. I'm still here. Someone's got a button that they can press. They can get rid of people. That's a great button. I need one of those. So look, BIP and BID are crucial to all sorts of different layers of the way forward, I would say. BIP work with small businesses and have been doing so across Devon really successfully for 20 years, much wider than West Devon, South Hams. It's full Devon-wide service, and our level of support for them and engagement with that organisation has ebbed and flowed as the need has. So now is an acute time, and it might be, as I was alluding to earlier, an appropriate time to get closer to them, to engage with them, to support them financially with what they need. They are also potentially able to help us with some of the things we're looking to do in terms of grants and helping wider business support. And the point about Tavistock-BID is it's set up to support the members of BID, and I don't see that there's absolutely no. The question of who talks to BID, I would say, is almost irrelevant. It's Tavistock as a town council has to make its representations, has to be representative of the people of Tavistock. Tavistock-BID need to be representative of the businesses that pay into it, and we hope would bring their advice to the Tavistock Town Council as they would to West Devon Borough Council. So I don't really think it matters. It's all about all of us engaging so that we're collectively better and stronger. I'd hate to think that there was some sort of game to be played, if you like, around who does what, because it's just about everybody pulling hard in the same direction to make sure we can do the best we can. But if there's some subtleties around that I'm not aware of, and there may be, then I would appreciate maybe an offline conversation.
Oh no, I was just meaning, is West Devon going to be talking directly to BID, or they're going to be talking to BID via the town council? That's only my. I just wonder what the protocol was. That's all.
We'll talk to them direct. We'll talk to Tavistock Town Council direct. We may well talk to both at the same time. We'll do all of those, I think.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Councillor Cheadle, you've got a comment.
It was only to say that one of the questions that Councillor Edmonds raised was about feedback from Team Devon. My understanding, and I think Sarah Gibson's on the call now, I think. But the last time I asked a similar question, I think Sarah was going to get alongside Team Devon to find out exactly what they're up to. I don't know if she is on the call and whether she could say anything about Team Devon.
Sorry, Councillor Cheadle, I don't think she is at the moment, but you're absolutely right. She's getting very close to Team Devon, and I'm really pleased to say there was an opportunity that came across. There was a bid being made by sort of Devon authorities for £100,000 towards supporting enterprise within Devon, and there was a bit of a sort of void, which Sarah instantly filled with a really clear suggestion back to Mel at Devon County Council. Mel's the representative for this particular conversation, gave some ideas, gave it some shape, gave it some recommendations. So there's much more to come from that, and there's a real bit of traction there. So I think it would be helpful perhaps to give you all an update separately to this item, because it's only one bit of this item, whereas we could have a much more in-depth conversation, hopefully, well, definitely via the Economy Working Group, Councillor Cheadle, and more widely to the other members as they need, because there's some good work going on in that area.
Yep, good. Look forward to that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Edmonds, you've got another question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm sorry to come back. I wonder if I could just raise this one, please, with Mr. Powell as well. It's only an observation. Page 21 of the agenda papers, and I'm looking at item 1.7 of the recovery plan, and it says Team Devon will work with communities to maximise the rural gigabyte voucher programme and local mobile boost voucher schemes. In addition, piloting new solutions where poor coverage remains. I just wonder if that's going to complement the report that we're going to consider this afternoon about the initiative, the broadband initiative using the voucher scheme in West Devon, or whether we are perhaps in danger of duplicating some effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. I'm sure Mr. Molyneux can sort of maybe talk about the relationship between what we're doing in here, but what you're identifying quite rightly is that this document is in some areas getting slightly dated and is in need of a bit of a refresh and an understanding, because these were the ideas that were around at the time when we drafted the document. We need to focus in and we need to decide which ones are still appropriate and have the sort of discussions you've talked about there about what other plans have we got, and do these still complement each other, or do they actually conflict? So as I say, it's very much a working document, and we need to focus in and spend a bit more time going through these and expanding them, determining whether we need to progress them, tweak them, change them, or actually not do them. So I don't know whether Mr. Molyneux can just add to that in terms of his thoughts on that specific action.
Yeah, just so rather than go into the next that papers debate now, the answer to your question, Councillor Edmonds, is it will complement, not compete. So I hope that's okay, but we can discuss it when we come to that item.
No, that's fine. That's very positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Councillor Jory, are you back with us?
I hope so. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you.
I'm coming in through the phone line now. I was just really going to come back on the point that Councillor Moody raised and reiterate the statement that Mr. Brooks made, that we do work directly with BID. They sometimes will approach us directly where it's relevant to do so, and of course we collect the levy on their behalf and pay that to them, so we do have a direct relationship with them. We've been very careful to make sure that the town council is kept informed, and where it's appropriate, for example with the recent town centre grants that we gave out, that money went through the town council and they then elected to pass it on to BIP as their agents to effect whatever was necessary in the high street. So it's a very close relationship, but we do make sure that people aren't excluded. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Neil.
Okay, Lois, as I'm back in, would you like me to?
You can carry on, yeah, if you want to.
Things up again. And thank you for standing in. That was very kind of you and very efficient. Are there any other questions, members?
There are none coming up there, Chair.
In which case, I'd like to move, if I may, the four recommendations that are shown on page 3 of the agenda papers. They are items to note and a request. Is there any debate, members?
Sorry, Chair, can we just have a seconder for those, please?
Oh, sorry, could I have a seconder, please?
I can second
Yeah,
them.
happy to second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any debate, members? I'm getting nothing coming forward. Mr. White, I'm happy to take this by exception.
Sorry, Chair, Councillor Sellis has asked to speak in the debate.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Sellis.
Yeah, thanks. I would just like to say that I think it's most wise taking this in bite-sized bits, where and seeing what our financial position's like. Listening, we hear that some councils are looking to 2 to 3 year strategic programmes, and I feel that our stance is wise, and I'm thankful that we have officers that are looking at the financial situation, and that we are just going to do it in baby steps at first, because there are so many unknowns. And you know, I will be reading this absolutely thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sellis. Any other debate, members? In which case, I think, given the content, Mr. White, I'm happy to take this by exception. Is anyone indicating they would like to abstain or vote against the recommendations? There's nothing coming forward, in which case I'd like to take that as approval.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, if we can move on to the next item. And the next item is the housing strategy. Councillor Sellis, if I could ask you to introduce this item.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Well, I'm really pleased to be introducing this joint housing strategy of South Hams and West Devon. As we've just looked at the recovery plan for the COVID-19, this is going to be placed here rather than with the COVID-19, but there is a lot of interplay. The strategy comes at a time of great uncertainty, and we're certainly looking at home in much stronger ways now with lockdown. As our areas start to emerge and recover from the pandemic, it's important that we build back better and revisit our priorities and make commitments to change. That's why we've called our strategy Better Homes, Better Lives. And under our themes, the housing for place and housing for people, we've listed our key priorities for the next 5 years. And these are ensuring sustainable housing growth, promote balance and sustainable communities, ensuring that homes support the health and well-being of the area, homes that support the health and well-being of our residents, make the best use and improve quality of existing housing, ensuring that people can access the support and advice they require and make best use of data. So we want to deliver on all these key commitments to ensure that our residents, current and future, benefit from a strategy that makes the best of our beautiful natural environment, but also delivers for those who need it the most. Both our councils have declared a climate emergency and greener initiatives that deliver on carbon reduction, green, clean energy, and improving homes in a sustainable way that are key aspects of this strategy, and we are keen to deliver it for our residents and community. So it goes without saying that the objectives of this strategy would not begin to be met without working in partnership with a great number of statutory and voluntary agencies. So we'd like to extend our thanks to our partners for the part they play in the outcome for our area. We believe that through this strategy and supporting delivery plans, we've made clear our ambitions for the next 5 years and how we will meet our future challenges to ensure that both South Hams and West Devon continue to be great places to live. And if I may, Leader, I would just like to thank all the teams, all the officers within our community, because there's a lot of interconnection between the departments. It involves many areas of the council, and I would also like to emphasise to all elected members in the hub and in the council that we engage with our parish councillors and our residents and stakeholders so that we can get some really good feedback for when we review it in March. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Sellis. Members, any questions on the paper that is in front of you? Okay, Councillor Edmonds.
Thank you. My question is, it's on page 55 of the agenda papers, or page 13 of of the strategy document, and it's a really great page actually. On the top left-hand corner, it gives some interesting figures about affordable housing units, and since 1617, see that South Hams they've enabled 483, and we've done 95. Am I right in thinking that these are affordable homes from larger developments rather than kind of community schemes or exception sites? Are the 95 purely from our larger scale developments, particularly around the two main towns of Oakhampton and Tavistock, please? Or is that not a fair question? Is that a difficult one?
I think it's a really reasonable question. I think I'll defer to the officers to give that. I think I know, but I don't want to give duff information. As an officer there.
Thanks, Councillor Sellis. Yeah, I will defer. I will defer again
to Alex.
To Alex, who's on the call, can give much more detail about all the different developments. So yeah, that's Alex.
Yeah, Alex lives and breathes this. So thanks, Alex. Thanks, Izzy.
Good afternoon, members. Yeah, just to confirm, those housing numbers will mainly have been delivered in the Oakhampton area. I think there probably was some just on the outskirts of Tavistock, but yeah, in the majority they are developer contributions. Does that help?
It does. Thank you, Alex, for that answer. So if I may, Chair, and perhaps it would be more fitting to say this in debate, but my great wish, therefore, is that this document will help us to bring forward more affordable housing, and I know that's one of the aims, not just through developer contributions, but those, and the majority are going to come through developer contributions, and certainly in my patch that's going to be the case. So my wish is really that we really have got a good mix of tenures, so as that people really do have an opportunity to own at least a share of their home. And when you look at some of those figures, the average incomes, etc., it really brings it home to me just how big a problem this is. And I'm not sure that 95 over that period, we've really done it justice. So my great wish is that through this document, through the efforts of us all, that we can deliver truly affordable in some form or another, maybe initially rent with the opportunity to buy, maybe it's shared ownership, help to buy schemes. But I'd really like to see an uplift in affordable homes as a result of the implementation of this really good strategy. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, leaders. That there is a great emphasis on what Councillor Edmonds has said, and I think it would be useful if Alex Rehag could just quickly describe what our ambitions are, please, Alex.
Thank you, Councillor Sellis. Yeah, just to add to some of what Councillor Edmonds has just said, we do have an awful lot of affordable houses in the planning process at the moment. So be aware, I mean, again, these are mainly in the big towns, but we do have opportunities in Lifton Ward, etc. So there will be a lot more coming forward, and they are all of various different tenures as well. So we've got the rent to buy models, we have some discount market housing coming forward, as well as the much needed social rent. So there will be a lot of difference in those figures in the coming years.
Thank you, Alex. That's really good to hear.
Thank you, Alex. I'm sure we all share Councillor Edmonds' hopes and aspirations there. Councillor Cheadle.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that I thought the report was a very well written and very sort of easy to digest report. So well done to the team for that. My question is around the deliverability. It is, I think Councillor Sellers described it as our aspiration, and there's nothing wrong with having an aspiration, but the report doesn't really go into the detail of how the various elements of it will be delivered. And I understand there is to be a sort of delivery document produced. Am I right in that?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Councillor Cheadle. There will be an annual delivery plan, and the first one of those will be presented in March, when there is hopeful sign-off on this 5-year strategy.
Okay, because a lot of the actions or a lot of the aspirations are, as I say, not necessarily ours alone to deliver. We can encourage others to do it, but they're not things that we alone can do.
If I may, Leader, yeah, what we thanks. I agree. It is a readable document, and it was one of our ambitions to make it as short as possible, actually, so that it would be one that you have near to hand and usable, and also the fact that we are going to have sort of annual health checks, so that we do keep the document alive. And I think that members will be interested to know that we work closely with the landlords and also with the private sector. So there's a lot of connectivity between home providers. And I just wonder whether we really sell ourselves about actually the immense amount of work that we do already. And I think, Izzy, perhaps you could just back me up there and just give members some reassurance, please.
Yes, no problem, Councillor Sellis. Yeah, I think more will emerge when we create the delivery plan about all the different things that we can do. And yes, you're right, we can't do a lot of it without our partners. However, we have had our partners event, and they were broadly on the same page with us. These are shared ambitions. They've got their own responsibilities and targets around some of the things around climate, their emerging climate emergencies. So they want to do some work around that. There's work that we know that Devon County want to do with us around keeping people in their homes longer and being able to still get about through the disabled facilities group. Some of the stuff around learning disabled client groups, care leavers. These are all things that are shared objectives, and this hopefully will be the impetus to start delivering on some of those, and continuing in a lot of cases. And actually, I think Councillor Sellis is right that this health check, this annual health check, where members sign off that we can show you all the progress that we've hopefully made against some of this stuff, will be a really good thing to be able to share with you, which I don't think we probably do very well at the moment, and having it come back every year will help that and ensure that you know what's going on much better as well.
Great,
thank you very much. I have one other question, if I may.
Yes, Councillor.
On a matter of detail, and I regret to say I can't get the original document up on my machine for some reason, but about 2/3 of the way through it, it makes a specific comment that one of the proposals made in the document is that we will support an appropriate planning application. And I have a slight concern about putting something like that in a document, because it may appear to be predetermination.
Yes.
I just wondered if you could comment on that.
Yes, Councillor Cheadle, I can. The version in front of you has been further amended, and I think Phil Baker is on the call, who could give you the amended wording on account of I took your comments into account, and we've changed that to avoid any of that predetermination. Phil, are you there?
I am, Izzy. Yeah, and yeah, thank you for the question again, Councillor Cheadle. we are going to amend the wording so that we are just reflecting on understanding what the potential needs are, and that we're going to work with our partners to positively respond to that. So there's no mention of specifically responding to an actual planning application, because you're quite right. Clearly, the determination of a planning application isn't solely on whether or not somebody is seeking to bring forward an extra care scheme or not. So we're just going to keep it a bit more generic than that.
Thank you.
I think this has been further amended and proofread because we're on such tight timescales with this to get this out for public consultation. So we're on version 5. I think that the one on the agenda was version 4. So we have made it that amendment.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Councillor Mott.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it's probably not the right committee to raise this in. However, bearing in mind our recent response to a planning application with regard to rentable affordable houses as opposed to being able to buy them or rent to buy or any other such scheme like that, do we as a committee, or is this something that we need to look at as a wider council with providing rentable housing? I know it's something that we toyed with in the past about setting up our own sort of company, as it were, to be able to do this through. Is this something that we need to look at further, or is this going to be hopefully addressed with the schemes that we've got coming forward as addressed in this paper, please?
Is anybody able to comment on that? I believe that some of the schemes that are coming forward do include some provision for long-term rented properties, but they will be community housing schemes. Mrs. Blake, have you got any comment on that?
I can come in there if you like, because I think I'm aware of what Councillor Mott's talking about, if that helps.
No worries.
Yeah.
So I think we're talking about the recent planning application, that we were talking about the difference in what people can afford and what was actually being offered by that planning application. So there will be some changes to the way that affordable housing respond to those applications. So members can then see what is actually affordable to somebody. Is it actually that the evidence that we've got supports rent, not what has been proposed in terms of discount market properties or similar? So they will be addressed further in the future, Councillor Mott.
Thank you, Mr. Rehard. I certainly think we need to have a balance and options for people. There are some questions coming from the floor, and I will take a couple. Councillor Ewings.
Thank you, Councillor Jury. My first question goes back to where the first question came from about the differences with the figures for affordable housing in South Hams and in West Devon. A bit of a tongue-in-cheek question, but does that mean South Hams are better at negotiating Section 106s than West Devon?
One for me again?
Yes, please.
No, I don't think that's the case, Councillor Ewings. I mean, we had a bit of a hard time in our last housing plan, in the core strategy, really, that we got knocked down on numbers because of some big infrastructure items that needed to be provided in some areas. So whereas we were seeking 35–40%, we actually only ended up getting 7% in some areas, and that was decided by an inspectorate. So it's really difficult. I don't think it's to do with negotiation in different areas. Obviously, it's a lot higher value area in South Hams, but all of that will be taken into account, you know, through our joint local plan that we've got now, and we are very, very firm that 30% is the minimum that we will take on a Section 106 site.
Okay, because, you know, all this money and all this housing that we've lost is due to a railway that's nowhere near being delivered as it was in about 2007. So, you know, our residents are losing out, you know, big style to this railway that's, you know, very, very slow in arriving. And are we losing any money because of the, you know, the amount of time that you can hold it for these developments, etc.? I mean, I just don't feel very comfortable about it.
Do you want me to just come back on the railway issue?
Please, Alex.
So when that application was determined, yes, we did get a lower percentage because that piece of infrastructure needed to be taken into consideration. However, there is a huge clawback in the Section 106 agreement. So if that railway isn't coming forward, the remainder of the affordable housing needs to come back. So there'll be a percentage capped at 35, 40%, whatever the percentage was at the time. And it'll be split between ourselves and highways for the road improvements. So there is potentially quite a chunk of money that would come to us. Now, that can't be provided on site because it would be too late on in the day. The development's going to be built by the time that they revisit that. But there will be money there for us to do something probably quite exciting with if we've got, once we've got that in our bank account. I think that's, probably quite an important piece of information for people to know if they weren't around at the time that application was determined. So, that's kind of where we are with that application.
Okay, I've got a further question, if I may, please. With the page 61 or page 19 of this document, Councillor Cheadle referred to the support and appropriately located planning application for an extra care housing scheme in West Devon. Bearing in mind these documents have gone out in public domain, is it slight coincidence that we've actually had an application in now for exactly the same as that how we will deliver bullet point comes from?
Am I okay to take this one again?
Yes, please.
So no, it wasn't. That's nothing that's been put in there. It's been in the public domain for quite a long time that Tavistock was earmarked as one of the priorities for Devon County to identify an extra care scheme. We obviously had Castleham in Oakhampton, but there was always the intention that something like that would have been provided on the Cannington Road site. That was in the plans early days. That obviously didn't come to fruition, but we are now seeking, to find an extra care site somewhere within Tavistock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ewings. Councillor Hipsey.
Thanks, Leader. I think my question's really been answered by Alex after Councillor Ewing's question. However, what I was going to point out is the fact I really want to know why they've got this peculiar imbalance between South Hams and West Devon in terms of affordable housing. By my calculation, it seems that South Hams, we've probably provided 180 new homes per person in South Hams, but in West Devon it's 587 per person. That's 3 times more people per population, so 3 times fewer houses, and I just didn't understand that. I think Alex has given me the answer to that, but it does seem rather odd.
Yes, I've taken from the answer, which makes sense to me, that Alex gave, that there's going to be an overall figure which we could look to developers within the viability of any scheme or number of schemes that would be the Section 106 take, if you like. Yeah. And that has to be split between infrastructure projects, social housing, and anything else that can come out of that scheme. So it's a balance. I suspect there are also a number of sites in Tavistock that are waiting to come forward that would perhaps help to redress that balance. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Alex, on that score?
I don't think so, because I've not really done that calculation.
Okay, I think it's something that we must. Clearly the Section 106 end of things has been brought sharply into focus by recent events, and we are it's firmly in our sights right now. I think it's something that we need to have a look at and a further discussion on.
If I could just add, Councillor Jory, it's Isabel again. The housing register is larger in South Hams, and South Hams have also benefited from a whole new town at Sherford. So that's what some of the
of course.
That's please don't forget that in some of the sites that have been brought forward in South Hams.
Yeah.
Thanks, Izzy.
Thanks, Leader. I'd just like to. That's exactly what I was just going to add. That you mustn't forget Sherwood, and if you look at strategic document, there are queries about whether we actually develop a brand new town. So we are possibly behind them, but I think it's all right. You can prove anything with statistics, can't you? But the bottom line is we do need more affordable housing, and I would suggest that we get as many comments, as I said before, from members of the public and from parish councils, so that we can have a very useful document. I don't know if there are any more questions, Leader.
No, I've not got any more questions coming forward. So
may I move the recommendation then, please?
Would you go ahead and move the recommendations for us?
Yes, as seen in front. Is everybody aware? Can everybody see what's in front, or do you want me to read them out, Leader?
No, I think the recommendations are as shown on the screen.
Yep. Okay. Have I a seconder, please?
A seconder, please.
I'm happy to second those. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillors, any debate? I've not got anything coming forward by way of debate. So as it's to approve a strategy, Mr. White, I think we should take a vote.
Thank you, Chair. In light of the absence of any debate in the chat box or by show of hands, Chair, I'm happy to take this one by exception if you are.
Okay, I will take it by exception in that case. Would any member like to indicate if they would wish to abstain or vote against the recommendations?
There's nobody typing at all. Thank you, Chair.
Coming forward, Mr. White, so I will take
sorry, last minute intervention. Well, it's just to say that, as Izzy said, the document that's going out for public consultation is not the document that we've got in front of us.
Yeah, that's relevant. Thanks, Councillor Cheadle. I was just going to mention that. So it's actually the document 5, isn't it, Izzy?
Yeah. So, Ms. White, will we be able to? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've just put for the record, as part 1 of the recommendation, I've specified draft brackets version 5 housing strategy. So if Councillor Sellis and Mott are happy to accept that, that will replace their previous recommendations.
I'm taking this. I've not seen the document 5. Is there any significant difference? I know that Councillor Cheadle was very constructive.
Yes, no significant changes other than that that change around the extra care unit.
Yeah, which was relevant, and I thank you for that, Councillor Cheadle. So in good faith, I accept that recommendation as described by Mr. Darrell. Sorry, White. Sorry.
Okay, and Councillor Mott, are you happy with that change to the recommendations?
Likewise, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll take this by exception. Again, members, if anyone would like to indicate whether they would like to abstain or vote against the recommendations. I've got nothing coming forward, so we will take that as a vote in favour, Mr. White.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'd like to move on to agenda item 9, please, which is broadband community support. There is a paper in front of you which sets out the situation with regards to a proposal to set up a community support fund and move things forward in terms of providing broadband support to hard-to-reach parts of the borough. We believe we've found a way to advance provision via the BD UK gigabit voucher system and using BT Openreach as the delivery partner. The details of that are set out in the paper. We'd like to go ahead and support this process. There is a risk to the council in entering into the contract with BT Openreach, and that is set out in the documentation. We believe that risk to be extremely low, and we are discussing and continue to discuss with Devon County Council, connecting Devon and Somerset and the LEP to sort further funding. Also, in a bid to further support the provision of broadband within the, as I say, hard to reach parts of the borough, there is a bid in with the LGA for match funding to provide a community broadband support officer who would help to bring these bids forward. What we'd like to do is to try and work through the present bid that's on the table in connection with the Sydenham Damerel community, and then to roll that out to other communities who are prepared to put in the legwork and get the work done. Hence, it would create. Hence, our wish to create a resource by way of a reserve of £100,000 to underpin the potential cost of getting this service out to a number of different communities within Devon. As I say, the actual risk we think is really low. You can see the sort of figures that Sydenham Damerel have managed to collect and are working with, and we're really hopeful that we can bring this forward and get everything done within a fixed price contract with BT Openreach in order to bring about an improvement to the provision of broadband in their community. So are there any questions on the paper that is in front of you, members?
Councillor Mott has the hand up, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Mott.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check, please? I'm sure it's fully covered and it will be explained nicely for me. But the way that I'm reading part 3.3, which is on page 74 of the papers, is that West Devon Borough Council will become the legal entity and sign a contract with the provider on behalf of Sydenham Damerel. What happens, because my understanding is that the vouchers and the use of those vouchers would mean that they are effectively entering a legal contract with BT Openreach for the supply of that service once it is connected. However, with us signing up and becoming the legal entity, are we covered if, in fact, the residents either move away, change their mind, decide not to sign up? Are we therefore then liable for the cost of the instalment of fibre?
Yeah, what we would be liable for, and Mr. Molyneux may be able to provide a bit more detail here, is any shortfall between the vouchers that are subsequently collected and the fixed price of the contract. Now, there are ways that we've discussed that we can minimise that. In reality, it seems that the folk in Sydenham Damerel are really committed to this. They have gathered together enough interest to exceed the amount of the contract by over 25% of that figure, and we feel that there is a minimal risk. Once everything is connected up, what the residents will be asked to do is to take out an improved broadband service. Well, they're on a really rubbish service at the moment, so almost anything is going to be an improvement, and clearly we'll be looking to them to fulfil their end of the bargain. Mr. Molyneux, is there anything you would want to add to that?
Thank you, Leader. I'd just add that in further conversations since I wrote the report, we've had more contact with BT Openreach, and in terms of risks for members, BT Openreach have done 450 of these schemes across the country, and they've had 10 schemes that have actually been short of their quotation and then the take-up from members of the public. And the general figure that they've been short is around about the £10,000 mark. Now, I substantiated that, cross-referenced that with Connecting Devon and Somerset, who've been involved with some communities across Devon and Somerset, and their view is that a £10,000 per scheme is sort of the risk we should be considering as a possibility. In this case, as the leader says, Sydenham Damerel have been very, very active. They've been exemplary in terms of the way they've approached working and getting the community together. They've moved the scheme forward at an incredible speed, according to BT Openreach, and it's highly unlikely. I think we worked out that they would have to have 30% of residents and businesses drop out for them to be short of the funding for the scheme. So in this case, the risk would be fairly low. I think we would then have to evaluate future schemes with different communities on a case-by-case basis. But we would be, you're quite right, Councillor Mott, we would be liable if there was a shortfall.
Thank you. I just wanted to check, sorry, because I missed some bits of that because some members aren't on mute, so it kind of cut across some of that, Mr. Molyneux. But I just really wanted to flag the possibility, if you like, that we could be liable for the 474,000, and really just is there any way effectively for us to be able to enter any agreement with the residents to effectively show their commitment to the scheme to help just really sort of underpin that cost, if you like?
So Councillor Mott, we wouldn't be liable for the 174,000. We'd only be liable for the shortfall. So they'd have to have, in effect, no residents sign up to the broadband scheme. And I don't believe that that would be the case. So it would just be the difference between those people who hadn't signed up for a service and the 174,000, because the way the scheme works is the vouchers are administered by Department of Culture, Media and Sport. So BT Openreach claim back from them. So the residents have a contract with the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and they issue the vouchers. The residents have to apply for the vouchers, and then the vouchers are released by the government to BT Openreach. So it would never be the 174,000. We've checked with BT Openreach, and they have confirmed that the price is the price. They do quite a comprehensive survey, so they don't ever expect to exceed the price. And again, we've cross-referenced that with Connecting Devon and Somerset, and what we've established is that if their price does change, and it's very, very rare, that BT Openreach, if the price was to go above 174,000, BT Openreach would stand that, because their contract with them is for the 174,000 to deliver the scheme. So there is a risk, yes. We are putting in place a memorandum of understanding, which is with the Community Fibre Partnership, which is 5 individuals in Sydenham Damerel who have been leading this. And the MOU basically says that they'll do their best to make sure that the residents sign up for this. I think I would echo what the leader says, which is everybody wants a better broadband connection, and they don't have to sign up with BT, BT's broadband provider. They could sign up with Sky, they could sign up with TalkTalk, as long as they use the infrastructure that BT Openreach have invested in.
Thank you for that reassurance. I'm sure it has all been tied up and has been checked and everything else. It's like I say, I just wanted to check the wording in 3.3. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're quite right to do that, Councillor Mott, and we must stress that there is a risk. That risk is more than just a theoretical risk, but I think in practice, and certainly from the evidence that has come forward, the risk is low. So it really is going to require a large number of people to go back on what they've said and say, well, then they're not going to sign up for an improved broadband, and they're getting pretty rubbish broadband at the moment.
Absolutely. More than happy to see anything that supports the increased service for broadband across the area.
And it's a real way for us to move this forward. And one of the things that maybe we shouldn't be surprised about, but which has been evidenced by the work that the Sydenham Damerel Group has done, is there's something like 30 businesses in that area working from homes, from offices in people's gardens, from farm buildings, who would all like improved broadband, and that is important, we think, for our economy as well. And so, we believe that taking this risk is justified. Councillor Cheadle.
Thank you very much. I've got a question for Steve Molyneux. I'm still struggling, I'm afraid, with the IT, so I can't get the original document up. But my question is whether we are constrained through this document to offer this service only with BT Openreach. The reason I say that is that the gigabit voucher scheme is not a scheme between the government and BT Openreach. It's a scheme between the government and a number of broadband contractors. And where BT Openreach won't or can't enter into a contract to deliver broadband, it may be delivered by some other supplier, and the same sort of contractual arrangement will be required. So it may not in the end be between a contract involving the residents and BT Openreach. It might be the residents and another broadband supplier.
If I may then, Leader, answer that Councillor Cheadle's question. And that's exactly the reason for putting in recommendation 1, Councillor Cheadle, which is about development of a broadband community support strategy. In this particular case, it is an agreement with BT Openreach, but you're quite correct. It could be other providers, and I think that's why we need the enveloping strategy, the complete strategy to cover all those scenarios. And if I could just go back to the point that Councillor Mott made, if I may, the £100,000 reserve that we're members are voting on to approve in recommendation 2, if we did say there was a risk and that risk was £10,000, and we worked on that basis, if we said that we'd helped 10 communities get better broadband connection and spent that £100,000, I think that would be £100,000 well spent. So I think, so have I answered your question, Councillor Cheadle?
Yes, I just didn't want it to be an exclusive arrangement between BT and the council.
No, it's a recommendation 4. It's exclusive between BT Openreach and Sydenham Damerel. It's specific to that one scheme, basically.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle. Councillor Edmonds.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on this point of risk, on page 74, we've got a worked example there of the likely sort of risk, financial risk, and it quotes there an example, a scheme needed 100 residents, and if 50% fail to take up the service, there'd be a liability of approximately 9. If I look at the Sydenham Damerel, could we sort of overlay that example? It's not exact, but I noticed that there are 73 residential and 33 businesses that indicated a sign up. So on that basis, does that kind of give us an indication that if 50% of those decided not to, that we're looking at some sort of risk between 10 and 15,000? Not sure that is valid, but it was just a thought that occurred to me during that conversation.
Leader, through you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I likewise can't get that bit of paper up in front of me at the moment. The figures that you quote, Councillor Edmonds, sound about right. Mr. Molyneux, are you able to elaborate on that?
The exact figures for Sydenham Damerel worked out about 30% of businesses, because businesses get a bigger voucher than residents. So it's about 3,500 for a business voucher and 1,500 for a residential voucher. So the figures that I've got for the Sydenham Damerel example is if 30% of businesses and 30% of residents didn't accept the scheme, then there would be, I think, a shortfall of, I think it was about £4,000. So you'd have to go worse than that to end up in a worst case scenario. And it in terms of if it was higher for residents or higher for businesses in terms of rejecting that, then it would change that shortfall.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Molyneux. But again, I think it indicates the risk here is, quite small compared with the, the benefits to that community potentially. So that I'm happy with that. Just a bit of guidance. Maybe it's this is just a bit premature. I don't know, but I've been in discussion with one of my parishes about the voucher scheme for some time now. And I've tried to take that forward through CDS by email. No response. I even tried their online inquiry form. I thought that's bound to do it. No response. So I've drawn a blank. And in the meantime, this initiative has come forward. So I've held off for the time being. But on the strength of this report, and assuming all goes through, should I advise the parish to follow the process that you're setting out in this report, 2.6, and using the template referred to in 3.4 once that becomes available? Or should I, hold off for now? But I'm quite keen. I've got to go back to this community and offer them some hope. And would I be correct in highlighting this scheme, and will have something in place that may well support this community as we're supporting Sydenham Dameron? Thank you.
I would have thought you should, Councillor Edmonds, and one of the things we're hoping to do is to produce a kind of toolkit based on the Sydenham Dameron experience that will help individuals to bring this forward. Mr. Molyneux, would you like to comment?
The only thing I'd add, Leader, is that we want to do some PR when this scheme actually gets signed. In terms of the Connecting Devon and Somerset connection, and it links back to your earlier comment, Councillor Edmonds, is that Connecting Devon and Somerset are generally focused on their Connecting Devon and Somerset programme. And those members that were when they attended the Overview and Scrutiny Committee will recall that they highlighted that there's around about, I think it was around about 2,700 homes that would not be covered by their scheme. And the resources that Connecting Devon and Somerset have got quite limited and focused on delivery of their scheme. And that was one of the reasons that we've put there's a line in the report, I can't remember which paragraph it is now, that talks about the LGA match funding, because if we can be successful in that funding, we can in effect create a role for 12 months to try and drive these initiatives independent of Connecting Devon and Somerset, but working with them where we can get funding from other schemes that they have, and certainly Devon County Council have indicated they have a small amount of funding, and we're also working with the LEP to see if we can unlock some funding to supporting broadband initiatives in West Devon.
Thank you, Mr. Molyneux.
Thank you, Mr. Molyneux. I've got no further questions coming forward, so I would like to, if I may, move the recommendations 1 to 5 as shown in the agenda papers and on your screens. Could I have a seconder for those recommendations, please? Councillor Pearce?
Happy to second, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Members, any debate? I'm getting nothing. Sorry. Councillor Edmonds. Councillor Edmonds.
Sorry, Leader. Thank you. Yeah, look, I'm really glad that we've got hold of this. And I know Councillor Cheadle has been very proactive in bringing this forward, Mr. Molyneux, and no doubt others. So I'm really pleased that we've got hold of this as a council to drive this forward. It's a really great plan. It just shows what we can do. It's really encouraging. And I know that the rural areas in my ward will be very interested in this initiative. So I should be fully supporting the recommendations. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Cheadle.
Thanks, Leader. I just want to, I mean, I'm fully supportive of this recommendation. I think it's exactly the right thing to do. But a warning shot across the bows. BT Openreach are, in my experience, one of the least attractive organisations to try and communicate with. That they're in the communication business is astonishing. But I have been trying to reach them about the scheme we've been promoting here, which is a gigabit voucher scheme. Absolutely no response at all. And I have to say CDS aren't much better at communicating, so I share Councillor Edmonds' frustrations trying to get someone to even answer an email. So don't expect anything to happen quickly, but that's no reason for not pushing at the door.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle. We have had involved with the Sydenham Downwell project a really good contact from BT Openreach, so perhaps we can put you in contact with her. I'll have a word with Mr. Molyneux. Councillor Pearce has also been very instrumental in discussions and bringing this forward. And Councillor Pearce, you'd like to add to the debate?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I welcome these recommendations because when I did the survey from West Devon parishes at the end of the first lockdown, it was quite horrifying how bad the broadband connections were over quite a wide area of West Devon. And, you know, this is a starting point now in a pilot scheme for hopefully what can be brought forward as we go forward in the next couple of years. I commend the group at Sydenham Downwell, the Community Fibre Working Group, who have done a massive amount of work, and it is a real going to be a hard act for other parishes to follow, but it sets a standard of what they need to do and what can be achieved by working together and working with the community. Personally, I feel that there is a very small risk with this option of supporting Sydenham Downwell because the number of people, including a number of businesses who are involved in this, are all needing much improved broadband. And I don't think there'll be many people, if any, drop out of the numbers that have been accumulated by the community working group or the community broadband group, because there's so many areas that are suffering from dreadful broadband now with everyone working from home and with the current situation. And it's really emphasised with the COVID-19 just how bad the broadband has been in our area. And I really feel that we've been left behind by the higher authorities in you know what has been achieved so far. So I sincerely hope members support this initiative and also support the recommendations, because this can be the building blocks for the future of having much improved broadband. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Sellis.
Thank you. I fully support anything which increases better connectivity. Prior to the boundary changes, I used to be Devon County Council representative for Sydenham Downwell, and in that parish you have an extremely close-knit community who are very proactive. And for example, at the annual parish meeting, that was standing room only in the church, and I think that that gives members an indication of how much they are prepared to roll their sleeves up too and be active members of the community and work together. And I think as elected members, we try to engage with our community, and I did find when I used to go to their parish council meetings, which used to be held in private homes, that they were exceptionally easy people to work with. And I think that this is something that we are very lucky when we do get rural communities, isolated communities really, that do pull their finger out and try and help themselves. So you know, the communication that I had with them, as I do with other village, small parish councils, is exemplary, and I think that it's really good, and they need all the help they can have. They've been working on this for years, and they'll be so relieved, and I just thank everybody that's helped them.
Thank you, Councillor Sellis. I'd certainly echo the amount of effort and organisation that's gone in at parish level. Okay, I've got no other comments or debate coming forward, so we're going to move, I think in this case, Mr. White, to a vote, given the commitment, the risk and the amount of money that we're asking to put into an earmarked reserve. So if we could move to a vote, that would be excellent.
Thank you very much, Chair. So members, in alphabetical order, Councillor Cheadle.
Happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Edmonds.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Jory.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Leach.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Moody.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mott.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
4.
Thank you. Councillor Samuel. I believe Councillor Samuel
is having
4.
trouble hearing. Well done.
Thank you,
Well done,
Councillor Samuel. And Councillor Sellis.
4.
Thank you, Chair. That is therefore unanimous for the recommendations 1 to 5. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. White, and thank you, councillors. If I can move to item 10 now, which is a paper with regards to the World Heritage Site consultation, and Councillor Mott, if you could introduce for us, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I would like, first off, to thank everybody involved in the writing of the management plan. It's been an immense piece of work and is presented in a very clear and concise way. Members have been able to follow the links and have a look at the document. So the management group were tasked with reviewing and updating the plan and following the consultation. The team have produced the final draft based on comments from that confrontation and with reference to other policy documents with stakeholders as well. And this is detailed in section 3 of the report. Also detailed is that the plan has been approved by Devon County Council and Cornwall County Council already. I would like to stress that we are very fortunate in West Devon to be able to showcase our borough on an international stage by being part of the World Heritage Site and all of the benefits that brings. And therefore, I strongly recommend our support to this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mott. Councillors, any questions?
There's nobody typing, Chair.
No, I have no questions coming forward. Councillor Mott, would you be prepared to move the recommendation? Oh, I do beg your pardon. I've got a well, it's a comment, Councillor Cheadle. Are you happy to wait until?
No, it's actually a question.
A question.
Slip of the finger.
I
just
will
wondered
retract slightly then, Councillor Cheadle.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a question. I was just interested to know what the likely resource implications of adoption of this strategy is likely to be for West Devon.
So thank you, Councillor Cheadle. So minimal, as you know, we make a minimal payment towards the running of the committee, if you like, and the work that goes into. I understand it's in the region of around £5,000 annually. I'm sure one of our officers will correct me if I've got that figure wrong. Cornwall has the majority of the sites, as it were. The work is predominantly funded by Cornwall County Council and administered, if you like, by those with contributions from Devon County Council and ourselves, like I say, in the region of £5,000 annually. With regard to officer resource, Graham Lawrence is the officer that's involved. So any applications that come in that are affected by the World Heritage Site are overseen by him in his role as the Heritage Officer, because obviously he looks at anything to do with listed buildings and anything in that of that nature. With regard to member input, I sit on that committee along with Councillor Sellis, who sits on the committee with her Devon County Council hat on. So with regard to resource, that's it, Councillor Cheadle. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. I just wondered if we were sort of potentially opening ourselves up to a request for additional resources, but from what you say, that sounds unlikely.
Thank you, Councillor Cheadle.
Leader, excuse me, could I just comment, please?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. I think also, members, there is opportunity for us to promote West Devon through the World Heritage Site. So I know that we were looking at produce and what is that? You know, there's a lot of homespun industry and things like that, and we were looking at ways of promoting that with Cornwall as well, actually selling the brand. So but I think that's been put in an abeyance just for obvious reasons. But there, if you've got any ideas and things like that, I'm sure that Councillor Mott and I would be very happy to take any ideas where we could promote and possibly get some revenue from the World Heritage status. But I just invite you. So that's also an opportunity, Councillor Cheadle, I would suggest.
Thank you, Councillor Sellis. I've got no other questions coming forward. So, Councillor Moss, I wonder if I could ask you to move the recommendation.
Indeed, thank you, Chair. So, members, as detailed on your screens, the recommendation is that the Hub Committee recommend to Council that the World Heritage Site Management Plan 2020 to 25 be endorsed for immediate adoption. Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Any debate, councillors?
Councillor Pearce has put his hand up, Chair.
Councillor Pearce.
Thank you, Leader. This is something which I think can bring huge benefits to West Devon, especially to Tavistock, and we really need to make the most of this with having this, endorsement in our area. I'm very disappointed that when the heritage site was originally set up, that Peter Tavy and Mary Tavy were left out of it, because they were extremely important mining areas. And in fact, Mary Tavy had the largest copper mine in Europe before Devon Great Consols opened. So, I sincerely hope, and I hope that our two representatives on the management remember that, and should there be any enlargement of the area coming forward at any time in the future, that will be remembered, that Mary Tavy and Peter Tavy should be included, because the financial benefits to this through tourism and people coming from all across the world to visit is enormous. And I know we at Mary Tavy, we get regular contact from people in Australia and South America tracing their families who were working in the mines here, and then when the mines were closing after the First World War, a lot of them went abroad. So, it is a very important management plan, but I sincerely hope that we make the most of the benefits that this can bring. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Pearce, and share your thoughts on that. And there are many industrial sites on Dartmoor which are of global importance that we probably could do with signposting to the world as well at some point, without having them ruined, of course. Any other questions for any other matters for debate?
Councillor Mott's requested to speak, Chair.
Councillor Mott.
Thank you, Chair. It's just really in response to Councillor Pearce's comment that I'm sure Councillor Sellis and I were more than happy to plug the merits of Mary Tavey and Peter Tavey when we are next meeting with the other members of the team.
Thank you, Councillor Mott.
Thank you.
I've got nothing else coming forward by way of debate, so I think we'll move to the vote. And again, I'm happy to take this on by exception, Mr. White. So if anyone would like to indicate if they would want to abstain or vote against this recommendation. I've got nothing coming forward, so Mr. White, I think we can take that as an approval. So thank you, members, and thank you for your input today and your patience with the various technical problems that we've had. There is a meeting in our diaries for Hub members and SLT for an update immediately after this meeting. There's a link that should have been sent to you and is on your diaries. I suggest we move over there in a couple of minutes or so just for a very quick meeting. Mr. White, did you want to add anything? I guess not. So the meeting, therefore, is.
I think I've got.
The meeting is closed, and I look forward to meeting back up with